Welcome to e-commerce psychology. We're diving deep today into something really fundamental for anyone selling online.
That's right. We're talking about the predictive brain.
Exactly, and how it shapes, well, pretty much everything your customers feel and do when they interact with your store. You're the learner here, maybe short on time, but definitely curious.
And our mission really is to cut through the jargon and give you a solid grasp of how your customers' brains are constantly trying to predict their experience with you.
It dictates satisfaction, loyalty, buying decisions, the whole shebang. We've looked at a whole range of sources for this, neuroscience, business studies.
Yeah, pulled it all together to give you the core insights.
Think about it, right? That little buzz you get when a package shows up way earlier than you thought.
Or the flip side may be disappointment, when a restaurant just doesn't live up to those glowing online reviews.
Or even just, coffee tasting different because you expected it to be amazing, or maybe just okay.
These are all examples of your predictive brain in action, constantly setting expectations.
So today, we'll break down how the brain actually does this, predicting what systems are involved.
And crucially, how you can use this understanding in your e-commerce business. We'll cover the science, but also the really practical stuff.
Okay, sounds good. But first, just a quick word. This podcast is powered by Growth Suite.
Growth Suite helps you run smart discount campaigns on your store.
You can test it free on Shopify. Just find it on the Shopify App Store. Okay, so the predictive brain. That phrase itself sounds pretty significant, a shift in thinking.
Oh, absolutely. It's a major shift in neuroscience. The old view was more like the brain just reacts, passively taking stuff in.
Right, like a recorder.
Exactly. But the predictive brain theory says, no, the brain is actively forecasting what's going to happen. It's generating predictions based on everything it's learned.
So it's constantly running simulations like, okay, clicking this button should lead to this.
Precisely. And when reality doesn't match the prediction, that's what we call a prediction error.
The mismatch.
Yes. And that mismatch, that error signal, is incredibly important. It's what drives learning. It shapes how we feel about the experience, how we adjust for next time.
So it started theoretical, but now it's actually useful for business.
Very much so. It's moved from, neuroscience labs into applied business science because it explains so much about customer behavior.
Okay, so what's going on inside our heads? What parts of the brain are doing this predicting work?
Well, it's a network, really. The prefrontal cortex, right up front, is like the main generator of these predictions using past experiences.
Okay.
Then you've got your sensory processing areas. They're taking in the actual input, what you're seeing on the website, how the product feels.
And comparing it to the prediction.
Exactly. Comparing input to the forecast. The hippocampus is vital, too. It helps integrate these new experiences, updating your internal models.
So it helps us learn from the errors.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the reward circuits, think dopamine, they fire up differently depending on whether the prediction was right, wrong, or maybe even exceeded.
It really is a whole team effort in there.
Yep.
You mentioned hierarchical predictive coding, too. Sounds complex.
It sounds it, but the idea is pretty intuitive. It just means prediction happens at different levels.
Yeah.
Your brain makes broad predictions like this checkout process will be smooth. And those high-level predictions influence how it processes the finer details, like, the specific fields you need to fill in. It's efficient. It focuses resources on the unexpected, the prediction errors.
Okay, that makes sense. It doesn't need to process every tiny expected detail from scratch. So my brain's guessing, checking, learning. Why is this such a big deal for e-commerce folks? What's the tangible impact?
The impact is huge. Seriously, look at the numbers. Customers whose expectations are exceeded positively surprised, they report satisfaction levels up to 40% higher. 40%.
Wow.
But on the other side, those negative prediction errors, when things don't meet expectations, that drives something like 60% of customer churn.
50%? That's massive.
It is. And businesses that get good at managing these expectations, setting them realistically and maybe exceeding them strategically, they can boost retention rates by 25, even 30%.
That's like reclaiming a huge chunk of potentially lost customers.
Exactly. It's a direct link. Managing expectations isn't just fluffy customer service stuff. It directly impacts your financial performance. It's about understanding how the customer's brain actually values the experience.
Okay, so let's dive deeper into that machinery.
Yeah.
You mentioned predictive coding. Again, the top-down predictions meeting bottom-up sensory info.
Yeah, that's the core mechanism. Think of the top-down signals as your brain's best guess based on past experience and current context. I expect this page to load in under 2 seconds.
Okay.
And the bottom-up signals are the raw data coming in. Okay, the page actually loaded in 1.5 seconds. Or maybe, it's taking 5 seconds.
And that difference, the error,
That's the signal. Something unexpected happened. Positive error if it's faster, negative if it's slower. And the prefrontal cortex is key here for those more complex, time-extended e-commerce expectations, like waiting for that delivery.
So our expectations literally change how we perceive the whole thing, the website, the product when it arrives.
Absolutely. It's not just a reflection after the fact. Expectations actively shape the perception as it happens, which brings us to dopamine.
Right, the reward chemical. How does that fit in with predicting things online?
Well, dopamine signals the value of the outcome relative to the prediction. When the experience is better than expected, package arrives early, product quality is amazing, you get a surge of dopamine. Feels good, right? Delight.
Definitely.
If it's just as expected. Dopamine activity is steady, you're satisfied, but maybe not thrilled. But here's the kicker. If the experience is worse than predicted.
Let me guess. Dopamine drops.
Exactly. Dopamine levels decrease below baseline. And that feels like disappointment, frustration. The key takeaway is that the gap, the prediction error, is often more important for that immediate feeling than the absolute quality.
So a small shop exceeding my low expectations might feel better than a big famous brand just meeting my high ones.
Precisely. That positive prediction error is bigger. But there's a catch. Habituation. If you always get amazing service, that becomes the new expectation. The dopamine hit gets smaller.
So you need to keep things reliable, but maybe throw in an occasional surprise.
That's the sweet spot for delight. The unexpected freebie, the faster shipping sometimes. That keeps the dopamine system responsive.
Makes total sense, like that unexpected discount code you get sometimes. So what about the emotions? You mentioned the amygdala.
Yeah, the amygdala is like the brain's alarm system, very sensitive to unexpected events, especially negative ones. Think unexpected shipping costs popping up at checkout, or a return process that's a nightmare.
Ugh, yeah, instant frustration.
Right. These prediction errors have distinct emotional flavors. Positive surprises, delight. Negative ones, disappointment, anger, frustration. And crucially, our brains flag these unexpected experiences, good or bad, for stronger memory encoding.
That must be why I still remember that one time, years ago, when an online order was totally messed up. But also that time I got a really nice handwritten note.
Exactly. Those moments stand out because they violated your predictions. And that's why people tell stories about the really good or really bad online experiences. They're memorable because they were unexpected.
Okay, so these expectations are clearly powerful. Where do they actually come from? How do customers form them in the first place for online shopping?
That's a great question. They come from a few key places. First, your own marketing and brand promises. What does your website say? Your ads. That sets a baseline.
Obvious but critical.
Then their previous experiences, both with your store specifically, if they're a repeat customer, and also with other online retailers in general. What's become normal for them?
Right, comparing to Amazon or
Yeah.
other big players maybe?
Often, yes. Social influence is huge too. Reviews, recommendations from friends, what people are saying on social media that massively shapes expectations, especially for first-time buyers.
So checking reviews is basically gathering expectation data.
In a way, yes. And finally, there are broader cultural factors. What are the industry norms for shipping in your country? What level of service is expected at a certain price point?
So for a new customer, it's mostly marketing and social proof. But for someone who's bought from you before, their own past experience is probably the biggest factor.
You got it. Which is why consistency is just so important for retention. If they had a great experience last time, they'll expect it again. If it was bad, well, you've got work to do.
And there are different types of expectations too, right? Not just one monolithic thing.
Definitely. We can break them down. There are forecast expectations. What you actually predict will happen. My package will arrive Thursday.
Okay.
Then, normative expectations. What you believe should happen based on fairness or standards. Returns should be easy.
Right. Like a moral dimension almost.
Kind of. Then explicit ones. Things clearly stated. Like free shipping over $50. And the sneaky ones. Implicit expectations.
The unspoken assumptions.
Exactly. Like assuming the checkout will be secure or the website will be easy to navigate. You don't advertise easy navigation, but customers just assume it. Violating those implicit expectations causes frustration, even if the customer can't quite pinpoint why they're annoyed.
That sounds dangerous for businesses.
It can be. We also talk about the zone of tolerance. There's a minimum level of service customers find acceptable and a desired level. Anywhere in between is okay. Below the minimum is bad. Above the desired is delight.
So like for shipping, maybe minimum is within 7 days, desired is 3 to 5 days, and delight is next day.
Perfect example. Falling outside that 7-day window violates even the minimum acceptable level.
Okay, got it. What about the psychology before the purchase? What's happening then?
A few things kick in. People often do mental simulation. They imagine using the product, how it'll feel, the benefits. This builds anticipation.
Daydreaming about the new gadget.
Pretty much. They also set reference points comparing your price or features to competitors or past purchases. And cognitive biases play a big role.
Ah, the biases.
Optimism bias, we tend to expect things will go smoothly, maybe underestimating potential hassles. Or anchoring the first price or review someone sees can disproportionately influence their overall expectation, even if other info comes later.
So that first impression really matters.
Hugely. And remember, individuals differ. Someone really conscientious might have super high expectations for order accuracy. Someone more laid back might not sweat minor website glitches.
Wow. Okay, so expectations are formed from all these sources: marketing, past experience, reviews, culture, even our own personality biases. Now, how does this connect directly to satisfaction after the purchase?
That's where the expectation confirmation model really shines. It gives us a framework for precisely that connection.
Okay, break down that model for us.
Sure, it's pretty straightforward. You start with E, the pre-purchase expectations we just talked about. Then you have P, the perceived performance. How did the customer actually experience everything? The website, the delivery, the product itself, subjectively.
Okay, expectation versus reality.
Exactly. And the key is DE, disconfirmed expectations. That's the gap, the difference between P and E.
Performance minus expectation.
You got it. And the basic formula is satisfaction, perceived performance expectations. It directly links back to those dopamine responses we discussed. A positive difference feels good, a negative one feels bad.
So if P is greater than E, satisfaction is high. If P is less than E, satisfaction is low. If they match.
If they match, you get confirmation. Satisfaction is neutral to positive, but not usually delight. It met the expectation, no surprise.
And the brain imaging shows different patterns for these outcomes.
Yes, studies confirm it. Positive disconfirmation, exceeding expectations, lights up reward areas differently than simple confirmation or negative disconfirmation, falling short. It's a real neurological response.
So delight comes from that positive surprise, the positive disconfirmation.
Exactly. Think faster shipping plus a nice little sample included. That's exceeding expectations.
While just getting what you ordered on time, as described, that's confirmation. Satisfying, but maybe not memorable.
Right. And getting a damaged item or late delivery that's negative disconfirmation, leading to disappointment.
It seems like businesses should always aim for positive disconfirmation then. Always try to delight.
It's tempting, but maybe not sustainable or even always necessary. Delight is great for buzz and immediate positive feeling, but confirmation consistently meeting expectations is arguably more important for building long-term trust and loyalty.
Ah, okay, so reliability is the foundation.
Absolutely. You need that dependable base. Customers need to trust that you'll deliver what you promise. The occasional delight is the bonus, the icing on the cake. It's a balance.
And this relationship isn't always simple, right? Other things can influence it.
For sure. Your existing brand trust can directly boost satisfaction, even if the current experience is just okay. High expectations for a luxury product might actually prime someone to perceive it more positively, a kind of confirmation bias.
Interesting.
And things like, is it a critical purchase or just a nice to have? How experienced is the customer with online shopping? Is it the chaos of the holiday season? All these factors can moderate the link between expectations and satisfaction.
But the long-term pattern is clear.
Very clear. Consistent positive experiences, especially exceeding expectations now and then, build trust, loyalty, lifetime value. Negative experiences, failing to meet expectations, damage trust much faster and more deeply than positive ones build it.
That asymmetry is important to remember. Okay, this is all fascinating theory. How do we make it practical? How can e-commerce businesses actually use this?
Right, let's get into the applications. First and foremost, strategic expectation management. This starts with marketing alignment.
Making sure your ads and website actually match the reality.
Precisely. No exaggerated claims, no photos that make the product look way better than it is. Be accurate, be honest. It sets a realistic baseline.
The classic under-promise, over-deliver idea.
It really works. Setting delivery estimates a little conservatively means when you ship faster, it's a genuine positive surprise. Think about the whole journey, too.
How so?
Manage expectations at each step. Clear shipping costs up front on the product page. Realistic timelines in the order confirmation email. Proactive updates if there is a delay. Don't wait for the customer to chase you.
So transparency throughout.
Yes, you can still have aspirational branding, but the transactional promises need to be grounded. And this needs marketing and operations folks talking to each other constantly. They have to be aligned.
Makes sense. Are there specific touch points that are more crucial than others, like moments of truth?
Definitely. The checkout process needs to be seamless. People expect that implicitly. The moment they receive and open the product, the unboxing, any interaction with customer service, these are critical.
So focus extra effort on making those moments smooth or even delightful.
Exactly. And also high-risk interactions like handling a return or a complaint. If you mess that up, you've likely lost a customer. But if you handle it exceptionally well, you can actually strengthen their loyalty, turn a negative into a positive.
Wow. Right.
And underpinning all of this is consistency engineering, reliable website speed, accurate product info every time, dependable shipping. Get the basics right consistently. Then you can add strategic surprises.
Like the occasional small gift or discount.
Yeah, little unexpected things. Remember the peak end rule. People judge experiences based on the most intense point, peak, in the end. A smooth checkout, a nice unboxing, or a helpful final interaction can disproportionately shape the overall memory.
That's a great point. Focus on nailing the end experience. But what if things do go wrong? How do you recover from failing to meet an expectation?
Recovery is critical, and it needs to address both the practical and the emotional side. Fixing the problem replacement is necessary, but not sufficient.
You need to address the disappointment, too.
Yes. Acknowledge the broken prediction. A sincere, empathetic apology matters. Explain what happened, if possible. Then, try to exceed their new, probably lowered expectations for the recovery process.
Like offering that free upgrade after a delay you mentioned.
Exactly. Turn the negative into a memorable positive through exceptional service. Communication here is key. Be proactive, be transparent, be empathetic. Don't hide issues.
And having systems ready to handle common problems.
Essential. A clear process for out-of-stock items, for shipping damage, etc. builds resilience. Remember, just throwing money or discounts at the problem might not fix the broken trust if the emotional impact isn't acknowledged.
Really valuable advice. Now, technology, AI, personalization,
Yeah.
how is that changing the expectation game in e-commerce?
Oh, massively. AI and predictive analytics allow businesses to anticipate expectations on a much more granular level. Using past purchase data, browsing history, you can predict what this specific customer likely expects regarding recommendations, delivery speed, communication style.
So personalization engines become expectation management tools.
Exactly. Tailoring website content offers emails to align with those predicted individual expectations. Machine learning can spot patterns. Customers who buy X often expect Y that humans might miss.
But there are ethical considerations there, right?
Huge ones. It's a fine line between helpful personalization and creepy surveillance or manipulation. Using data to anticipate needs is one thing. Using it to exploit vulnerabilities like dynamically pricing based on perceived desperation crosses a line. Transparency and user control are crucial.
And what about the digital versus human balance? We want convenience, but sometimes we want a person.
That's a key challenge. People love the efficiency of online fast checkout, easy search. But especially for complex issues or high-value purchases, that human touch, that reassurance is still vital.
So using tech to enable better human service.
Ideally, yes. Offering live chat with helpful agents, designing chatbots that feel natural and can escalate to humans seamlessly, using tech to provide agents with the right customer info instantly. Automation shouldn't kill the emotional connection.
What does the future look like? Any emerging trends in predictive CX?
Well, things get a bit sci-fi, perhaps. Maybe using biometric data from wearables, with permission, of course, to sense frustration during browsing. Websites that adapt content in real time based on your inferred needs.
Wow.
Definitely more focus on cross-channel consistency, ensuring the expectation set on Instagram matches the website experience. And new tech like AR for visualizing products or voice interfaces for shopping will create entirely new sets of expectations businesses need to manage.
The pace of change is relentless. How can businesses actually measure if their expectation management efforts are working?
Measurement is key. Quantitatively, you can use specific survey scales, expectation confirmation scales, asking customers directly about their expectations versus their experience.
Okay.
You can track objective prediction errors, promised delivery date versus actual arrival. A/B test different messages. Does saying ships in 3 to 5 days lead to higher satisfaction than ships within a week? And calculate the ROI. Did initiatives to improve delivery accuracy, reduce returns, or increase repeat purchases?
So, hard data and testing. What about qualitative methods?
Also vital for the why. In-depth interviews let you uncover those implicit, unspoken expectations. Usability testing, watching people actually use your site, reveals friction points where expectations are broken.
Seeing where they get stuck or confused.
Exactly. Expectation journey mapping, visualizing the whole process from the customer's view, noting where expectations are set and met or missed at each touch point. It provides rich context.
Okay, so a mix of quantitative tracking and qualitative understanding is best.
Definitely. Some advanced methods exist too, like brain imaging or facial expression analysis, but they're usually less practical for everyday e-commerce measurement.
Right. Let's focus specifically on retail and e-commerce then. How does this apply to things like product pages or returns?
Okay, so for product presentation, high-res images from multiple angles, detailed, accurate descriptions, precise specs, set realistic expectations visually and textually.
Manage expectations before they even add to cart.
Exactly, the unboxing experience. Make it positive. Thoughtful packaging, maybe a small insert or sample. Create positive disconfirmation right when the product arrives.
First impressions of the physical product.
Crucial. Return policies. Make them clear, fair, and easy to execute. This reduces pre-purchase anxiety and sets a positive expectation for problem resolution.
And price-quality alignment.
Ensure the perceived value matches the price point. If it feels cheap but costs a lot, that's a negative disconfirmation. And reiterate, delivery expectations clearly and accurately. Early delivery is one of the easiest ways to score a win.
Simple but effective. Now, there are ethical challenges here too, aren't there? Manipulation versus enhancement.
Absolutely. There's a line. Is your marketing informing and setting accurate expectations, or is it deliberately inflating them with misleading claims just to get the sale? That's manipulation.
Like hidden fees or difficult return processes.
Exactly. Transparency is key about all costs, processes, limitations. Deceptive practices destroy trust long term. Businesses have a responsibility to use these psychological principles ethically.
And what about different types of customers? Individual differences.
Important consideration. Expectations can vary across cultures. Website design needs to be inclusive and accessible, considering neurodiversity and users with disabilities. Communication might need tailoring for different demographics. One size doesn't fit all when it comes to managing expectations effectively and respectfully.
And the sustainability question. Can businesses keep exceeding expectations forever? Faster shipping? Bigger discounts?
That's a real challenge. Constant expectation inflation isn't sustainable operationally or financially. The goal should be building a model that can consistently meet realistic, well-managed expectations. Balance short-term delight tactics with long-term capability. Don't promise things you can't reliably deliver.
Build trust through reliability first. Okay, looking ahead, what are the research opportunities here for e-commerce?
Lots. More field experiments testing different designs or messages in real stores. Comparing e-commerce expectation management to traditional retail. Using digital tools for real-time feedback during the shopping journey. And developing clear ethical guidelines for personalization tech.
And combining this with other fields.
Yeah, huge potential. Merging behavioral economics insights like framing effects with predictive processing, using AI for more empathetic, expectation-aware chatbots, applying design thinking to the whole journey with expectations in mind, even thinking about how smoother online experiences impact well-being by reducing frustration.
This has been incredibly rich. You had to boil it down. What are the absolute key takeaways for our listeners?
Okay, number one. Customer satisfaction hinges on the gap between expectation and reality. The predictive brain is constantly calculating this.
Yeah.
2, exceeding expectations, positive disconfirmation, drives delight, but consistently meeting them, confirmation, builds long-term trust. Reliability is foundational.
Balance, delight, and dependability.
3, proactively manage expectations across the entire journey. From first ad impression to post-purchase support, be accurate, be transparent.
Own the expectation setting.
4, use digital tools like personalization ethically and wisely to better anticipate and meet individual needs, but maintain the human touch where it matters.
Tech as an enabler, not just a replacer.
And finally, focus on sustainable practices. Don't create an expectation spiral you can't maintain. Build a resilient, trustworthy operation.
Fantastic summary. This really reframes online shopping. It's not just clicks and conversions. It's about navigating the customer's internal predictions.
Exactly. Get that right, and you build much stronger, more lasting customer relationships.
Well, for you, the learner, we really hope this deep dive gave you that valuable shortcut. Maybe pause and think about your own online experiences. How do your expectations shape things? How are companies trying to manage them? Could you apply this to your own business? Lots to consider. This has been e-commerce psychology.
And one last word from our sponsor.
That's right. Looking to boost sales for your Shopify store? Growth Suite helps merchants manage customer expectations effectively, think intelligent recommendations, realistic delivery estimates, personalized communication, applying these predictive brain principles for better experiences that keep customers coming back. You can test it for free on your Shopify store. Just head over to the Shopify App Store now and give it a try.